Last year, Lil Durk got locked up for allegedly setting up Quando Rondo, and in the process getting Quando's cousin killed. Now, he's sitting behind bars waiting on trial. But word is someone from inside the facility just spoke out, and what they're saying paints a whole different picture of Durk's time in lockup.
I'm feeling good, just taking a day at a time, just chilling.
That whole just chilling vibe, yeah, not quite according to the claims. He's been breaking all kinds of rules behind bars in this video. We're diving into what's really been going down since Durk got locked up, and how it could make his legal mess even worse inside Lil Durk's life behind bars. As most of y'all already know, Lil Durk got picked up by the feds in late October 2024 in Florida on some serious murder for hire charges. This wasn't just any regular case. It was allegedly connected to a hit on Rondo that ended up taking out Rondo's cousin Savia Robinson, also known as LOL Pop, back in 2022. The indictment is heavy, including conspiracy to commit murder for hire, use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, and them gun charges that the feds love to stack. If you've been following the whole Chicago drill movement, you probably already peeped that this case seems connected to the ongoing beef that popped off after King Von's murder in 2020. Van was Durk's right-hand man in the only the family camp, and he got clapped during a confrontation with Quando Rondo's squad. Many in the streets believe Durk's current legal drama stems from alleged get back for what happened to Van. It's a whole tangled web of street politics, loyalty codes, and consequences that's now got Durk locked up in the Metropolitan Detention Center (MDC) in Los Angeles, waiting on a trial that's been pushed back to October 2025. But what's really good with Smirk behind them walls, we've been able to piece together some intel from jail calls that have hit the internet in November 2024, just a couple weeks after getting booked. Lil Durk was on a jail call that got shared by one of his homies on IG. During this call, bro made it clear to shut down some of the rumors about his situation, specifically denying that he was in PC protective custody.
Man, what? The PC?
This is major because in jail politics, being in PC can sometimes get you labeled as soft or as someone who's telling. Instead, Durk emphasized that he was in Gen Pop, general population, and was actually getting mad respect from the other inmates, suggesting he's still carrying weight even while locked down. Then, in March 2025, another jail call hit the internet, this time between Lil Durk and formerly known as Kanye West. During this convo, Durk was still keeping it a buck about his situation, saying he was maintaining despite the circumstances. What's interesting is how he described passing time by putting the other inmates on game about his travels around the world. This shows how he's keeping his spirits up and even maintaining his status in the jail, using his experiences as a successful rapper to connect with other inmates who might not have seen what he's seen. These calls paint a picture of a dude who, despite facing charges that could have him cooked for life, is adapting to his environment and keeping his head up. It's worth noting that when he was first locked up in Miami, reports described him as super charming and agreeable with both the correctional officers and other inmates, which suggests that Durk is navigating his bid with a certain level of finesse and resilience. But it ain't all been smooth sailing. There's been word that Durk's been violating jail rules, especially by making three-way calls when the specifically told him not to. The prosecutors even use this against him when fighting his bond, saying he can't even follow rules while locked up. These violations show how Durk might be trying to maintain his connections to the outside world, possibly with his family or his team, despite the restrictions of being in federal custody. What about the facility where he's at? MDC Los Angeles, where Durk is currently being housed, ain't your typical jail with bars and cells. It's got a different setup, with housing areas called rooms instead of cells, wooden doors instead of bars, and glass windows, balconies, and atriums. Some people have described it as having more the look of a downtown office building than a prison. The spot offers various programs like drug treatment, education, GD, and ESL classes, medical care, and religious support through chaplain. But don't get it twisted. This is still a federal detention center with strict protocols, especially for high-profile inmates. like Durk, and there have been security issues at the facility with reports of at least 4 guards getting indicted for smuggling contraband, which could potentially impact the safety and vibe of the environment in terms of staying connected to the outside. Durk seems to have maintained some presence despite being locked down on November 1, 2024. A track by Hypnocaro called Where Smirk dropped, allegedly featuring a phone call from Lil Durk made from the jail during this call. Durk showed love to his crew, saying, "Hypnocaro, my motherfing brother from another forever legend off Only the Family, and I take your fing streets over. You know what time it is, rest in peace." However, there was some skepticism about this recording, with some fans suggesting it might be AI-generated or fake. Durk's album Deep Thoughts, which dropped on March 28, 2025, has also given us some insight into his mindset while being locked up. The project, which featured guest spots from future Lil Baby Punk Show and Jane Ayeko, includes tracks that seem to reflect on his current situation. Songs like Soul Bleed include lines that reference jail calls and the impact of incarceration on relationships, with lyrics such as "I've been slacking lately, I've been putting before my team 10 toes, ask the county how many times my phone rings," which hits different given his current situation. Another track, Shaking While I Pray, gets real about his struggles, potentially made worse by being locked up, with lines like, "I had to slow down off that drink, I was in Cleveland Clinic, I almost met God for the week." Even the album cover was switched to show Durk in a graffiti jail cell, reflecting his current reality. It's important to note that Durk's legal troubles go beyond the murder for hire charges related to the 2022 shooting. During a detention hearing in December 2024, prosecutors alleged a possible connection to another body in Chicago, and in February 2025, Andrea Robinson, Saville Robinson's mother, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Durk, making his legal situation even more complicated. Despite these challenges, Durk seems to be maintaining his connections to his family in the streets. His 11-year-old son Zayden Banks dropped a statement on IG defending his pops after the arrest. But let's be real, there is no way to defend what he did. This whole mess ain't just random, it's the result of years of bad moves, reckless choices, and straight-up foul behavior finally catching up to him. It all started with when he opened up the F record label. The bigger picture, beef, loyalty, and lessons. The rap beef between F, Only the Family, and NBA never broke. Again, isn't just some industry beef for the cameras. It's a multi-layered conflict with real consequences that has now caught up one of Chicago's most prominent rap figures. To understand Durk's current predicament, we need to trace this beef back to its roots and follow how it escalated to where we are now. The tension started brewing around 2019 with friction between King Von, who was signed to Durk's Fell, and NBA Youngboy. What began as seemingly playful jabs took on a more personal tone when King Von allegedly started dating NB, a Youngboy's ex-girlfriend Jana Meshel, adding emotional fuel to what would become a destructive fire. The situation reached a tragic turning point on November 6, 2020, when King Von was gunned down during an altercation outside a club in Atlanta that involved Quando Rondo and his crew. This devastating loss transformed what had been primarily a war of words into something much darker, with real bloodshed and grief at its center for Durk, who was tight with Von both professionally and personally. This loss hit different, intensifying the tension between the camps. By 2022, the beef had evolved into a full-blown exchange of diss tracks. In February, Lil Durk dropped a Ha, which took direct shots at NBA Youngboy and his crew. Youngboy responded with, "I hate Youngboy," not only dissing Durk, but also mentioning his shorty India Royal and other figures like Gucci Mane. These weren't just tracks, they were declarations of war that reflected deeper personal and gang-related animosities. Then came the incident that would eventually lead to Durk's current legal troubles. In August 2022, a shooting outside a gas station in Los Angeles resulted in the death of Saville Robinson, Quando Rondo's cousin. The feds later alleged this was a get-back mission orchestrated by F members, including Durk, as part of a murder for hire plot in response to King Von's death. This allegation formed the basis of the charges that led to Durk's arrest in October 2024. This cycle of violence and retaliation shows how rap beefs can escalate from verbal sparring to deadly consequences, especially when entangled with street affiliations and personal loyalties. It's a pattern that has become all too familiar in hip-hop, echoing earlier conflicts like the East Coast-West Coast beef of the 1990s, which similarly resulted in tragic losses. What makes this situation particularly powerful is that there were voices urging for peace and de-escalation. One of the most impactful came from Wallow 267, a podcaster and activist who made an emotional plea to Durk not to seek revenge for King Von's death in a moment that has resurfaced and gained renewed relevance since Durk's arrest. Wallow 267 shared his experience speaking to Durk and his crew in Chicago following Van's death.
Viral when you broke into tears telling Lil Durk not to retaliate in King Von's death.
You know, it was so emotional because Durk, he said, I need you to come here, right? He said, we could do it in Miami, whatever, but I need you to come here because I need you to talk to these. That's what he told me. He said, I need you to talk to him, Wallow. I need you to talk to him. I said, all right, I got him. And when I get there, I didn't know it was gonna be that many. It was like 100 of them. We in the basement in Chicago. It's 100 of them.
And them niggas, they ready to ride?
Yeah, no, they just was there, you know.
Okay, they wanted to hear what you wanted to say.
No, it wasn't even that. They didn't even know why they was there. Durk was like, we gonna do it in the hood.
Okay.
I want you to holler at them, boom, boom,
okay.
boom. So I'm like, I got you. When I got there, I'm like, he like, man, listen, I need you to holler at him. It just so happened that when I'm talking to him, I understand, because I'm talking to a couple of them on the side, and I understand that nothing is more important in the ghetto than revenge. Revenge.
In this powerful moment, Wallow 267 breaks down the mindset that often drives cycles of violence in the hood, identifying revenge as king and the ego as the #1 killer of black men. He goes on to share his own story of forgiving his brothers killer, emphasizing the importance of living for family rather than dying for ego.
Them, I had to, it was emotional for me because I'm letting them know, the man that killed my brother, I forgave him. Am I a coward? Am I a punk? Well, I don't know what that mean, but I knew that forgiving him mean that I was willing to live for my brother in an environment where we celebrate dying for somebody. I said, no, I'm gonna live for my brother, my grandma, my brother, kids, my mama. I'm gonna live for them because don't nobody talk.
This message, delivered with raw emotion and personal conviction, offered an alternative path to the cycle of retaliation that often characterizes street beats. Wallow 267's plea was a call for breaking the destructive pattern, choosing life and family over revenge and perpetual violence. The fact that this message resurfaced in February 2025 after Durk's arrest on charges related to avenging King Von highlights the tragic irony of Durk's actions allegedly contradicting this wisdom. Wallow 267's message goes beyond Durk to address the broader issue of black men killing each other. In a 2022 interview following the death of rapper Takeoff, he expressed his fear and frustration with intra-community violence, saying, "If a black man kills me, you're going to hear my scream until life ends for everybody," reflecting his deep concern for the pattern of violence within the black community. This perspective adds another layer to the conversation about Durk's case, placing it within a larger context of community harm and healing. The charges against Durk hit different considering his rise from the trenches of Chicago to mainstream success. He won a Grammy for Best Melodic Rap Performance in February 2024. For All My Life, with J. Cole marking a high point in his career just months before his arrest. This stark contrast between his professional achievements and current legal troubles raises questions about the pull of street ties. Even after getting the bag and gaining recognition, Durk's case also highlights the personal cost of these conflicts beyond the legal consequences. There's the impact on his family, including his 7 kids. And their mothers. His 11-year-old son Zayden's public defense of his father, emphasizing Durk's community work and presumption of innocence, underscores how his arrest is affecting those who depend on him emotionally and financially. There have been moments of potential squashing of beef in this ongoing feud. In September 2024, a video surfaced showing Quando Rondo agreeing to dead the beef with Lil Durk, citing their shared faith as Muslims. Rondo stated, "I love a lot of brothers for the sake of Allah." suggesting a willingness to end the conflict. However, given Durk's arrest the following month on charges related to a plot against Rondo's circle, this call for peace evidently didn't lead to a broader resolution. The media's role in amplifying these beefs deserves scrutiny, as well. Articles have criticized the approach of encouraging diss tracks for streams and views, with some DJs like DJ Dusky pulling violent disc songs from radio play to reduce escalation. This raises questions about responsibility and how these conflicts are covered and promoted, especially when they have the potential to spill over into real street violence. As we consider the broader implications of Durk's case, we can't ignore the connection to systemic issues affecting urban communities. The cycle of violence, incarceration, and retaliation reflects deeper problems of limited opportunities, trauma, and the normalization of conflict as a way of resolving disputes. These factors don't excuse criminal behavior, but provide context for understanding the environment that shapes these decisions. Wallow 267 himself speaks to this reality in his emotional plea, acknowledging the challenges of breaking cycles of violence when they're deeply embedded in hood politics and limited resources.
So it's deep. We tell these kids a lot of things. And all we do is criticize young black male every way possible. We criticize them as much as possible, but we don't bring no resources. You know how many people make money off of just criticizing us and talking down on not just us, as black people. But they don't got no, okay, you criticizing us. You got all these gigantic platforms. What we doing is cool, Shannon, but they got huge media platforms where they just want to tear the people down in the black community, but they ain't coming up with no solution and they ain't bringing no.
This perspective challenges us to look beyond individual cases to the systemic factors that contribute to these patterns, demanding more comprehensive solutions that address root causes rather than just symptoms. For Durk's fans and the broader hip-hop community, his case serves as a sobering reminder of the real-world consequences that can follow from these beefs. It's not just about music or social media, it's about lives lost, families torn apart, and promising careers derailed. The tragedy extends beyond Durk himself to include all those affected by the violence, including the family of Savia Robinson and others caught in the crossfire of these feuds. As Durk awaits his trial in October 2025, his case stands as a powerful example of how quickly fortunes can change and how past decisions can catch up even after getting to the bag and achieving success. For other artists navigating similar tensions, it offers cautionary tale about the importance of breaking cycles of retaliation and finding alternative paths to resolving conflicts in a particularly real moment. From his interview, Wallow 267 offers advice that seems directly applicable to Durk's situation and others in similar positions.
You just rap some songs, right? I'm talking about you went in the studio, rap some songs. You got that publishing money. You got the, a bunch of money. It depends on how your deal structure. You got all that tour money. You got 10, 15 million in the bank. I think it's about time to start being a pussy, man. I think it's about time to start being a. I'm just being real because, I'm not the one designed and I'm not built like that to tell you some bull, Shannon.
Right.